Hey kids, so we're going to look up on ProDemand how to um, look up what kind of oil and how much oil this thing takes. We're looking at a 2002, I believe it is. We'll look it up here in a second. I went ahead and put in the VIN number, and let's check it out. It turns out that this is an O2 Infinity with the 3.5 liter engine. Now, there's a couple places you can find this. A nice, easy place to go is right here underneath of common specs. So under here, you will find what you're looking for typically. Engine, and you're like, oh, Mr. Grimm, I can't find it. Oh, look, fluids under maintenance tab. That's right, I'd forgotten. So if you go under there, this place, in other words, they're cross-referenced a bunch of different places. So I should have gone into maintenance, which is right here. I knew that. I'm thinking fluid capacities. So engine oil, this thing takes 5.25 quarts. All right, that's what it looks like she takes for us here. Well, which one is it, Mr. Groom? I feel like I just don't know which one. Okay, so this one, oh, I'm sorry, right here. This one says engine oil, drain and refill with filter, 4.25. Engine oil, drain and refill without filter, and then total capacity, 5.25. Like, what is that about? Well, I think it's this guy right here. Now, we have other ways of making this talk, so don't worry about that. I'll show you a different one here in a minute. If there's any doubt, we have two ways of doing it. So there's this guy here, and notice it wants 5W30. Okay, I could use other ones, but only if the temperature is really super warm. 530 is prepared, so that's what we will use. Another one that we use occasionally in the shop here is Identifix. We also use one called ALLDATA. I can't show that one on this computer. I can't access it from this computer. The ALLDATA one I do like better for things like oil changes and some smaller stuff because I find that it gets me where I need to go a little quicker. For your very smaller items, these other two are way better from the standpoint of they get us to they give us more detail in terms of how the different pieces and parts work. So what I can do is just type in under service manuals. You can type in oil capacity right there, and it should take us there. Specifications, liquids and lubricants. There we are. And you will see, here it is. Again, this one's a little harder, I think, to run. I think it's a little harder to run from the standpoint of if I just want to find things like oil. Okay, the other one, ALLDATA, which again, I can't show you on this computer. It's probably the best for that. It gives you this straight, boom, here you go, boom. These are the ones you're looking for. As you can see, here we go, 4.25 quarts. Nice. And down, and it should say what fluid it takes. These are the grades that it needs. And then somewhere down here it should actually say, there you go, 530 is what it's looking for all temperatures. Okay. Now, if you're always going to be above 0 degrees Celsius, you could use 1030 or 1040. But, it's good to be safe. So 530 is what we're going to use. 4.25 quarts. While we're here, I'm going to go on Napa. Napa's website. Napa also, you can either select 2002 and go through this way, Infinity, or you could just go ahead and post in the VIN number. And it doesn't matter that they use the exact same filter. We'll click on oil filter, and it will pop up that it needs this oil filter, and we'll go ahead and get it ordered in. This 1358 feller. Okay. We always in our shop use the Napa Gold filters. They're a very good filter. The reason that I always tell kids to order that, well, we just use Napa for filters, but you go elsewhere too. Make sure you get a good quality filter wherever you go. Okay. If you look under motor oil on this, Napa does a pretty good job on most cars of telling you how much you need. Notice it says 4.2 quarts. It should say 4.25, whatever. Remember, we will look at the dipstick when we're finished, and we'll go ahead and finish filling it up to the top of the dipstick as a general rule. Okay, so you're like, I put in, I think it looks exactly like 4.25. Keep in mind that on a quart, there's 32 ounces in a quart, so a quarter of that would be 8 ounces. So you have to kind of eyeball where 8 ounces is. So you may not be perfect. You're like, I thought it was 8 ounces already. Well, maybe you're an ounce or two off. So just add a skosh more. Alright, so here we are underneath this vehicle. You can see us up here. Here's the drain plug we're going to be getting at in a minute. To get that loose, it's a 14 millimeter. So I've taken the liberty of bringing over some tools for us to look at here. I'm going to zoom out a skosh, get you a better look at them. Oh, what? Look at them all, Mr. Groom. There's a ton. Some of them are ridiculous. Which ones are you going to choose, Mr. Groom? Would I use, for instance, the stubby 14 mil combination, of course with the box end, or should I use the normal length one? Given a chance, I'm probably going to use the longer one. It's got more leverage, like we talked about in class today with our torque. You're like, Mr. Groom, I kind of dig the looks of this double box wrench. Well, you knock yourself out, friend, with a slight offset. Yeah, that's cool. Mr. Groom, I really like this straight ratchet. I'll be honest, I don't hate it. I don't hate this straight ratchet. But maybe I'm digging the flex head a little better. What? Yes, I have both. Now you're like, which socket should I choose? The 6-point? By the way, these are both 3/8 drives. Or the 12-point? Well, given a choice, ma'am, sir, I'm going to use the 6-point myself. Should I use a deep socket? Well, that seems goofy. If you look at this plug right there, it seems goofy to put this on clear out here when I don't need a deep socket. I'm going to tend to pull it off of the nut and strip the sides of it loose, which again would be less than optimal. It is straight out, so I would not use the swivel socket. I don't need that. I don't need to have any swivel. It's right out there. Perhaps you're a person that says, give me the double box ratchet wrench, Mr. Groom. All right, cool. We will look at all of them. I will not be using, of course, an extension. That's just lunacy. It's right there after all. And, of course, we could use the 1/2-inch drive socket ratchet, and I brought a giant socket for that. But, again, it seems kind of ludicrous. It's very small. So what I will do is demonstrate probably several of them for you. Kind of get the idea here. Again, it comes down to what you own in your toolbox when it's you doing the work. It's really harder than it looks to film this stuff, by the way, in case you're wondering. Yes, Mr. Groom, it is every bit as hard as you think it is. There it is. Oh, that's good filming, Groom. Nice work, bud. Now, again, I could crack it open with this stubby one here. Wait, Mr. Groom, are you going the right way? No, you're going the wrong way, stupid. There it goes. And I broke it loose. Now, I'll tighten her back down for a sec. With this longer wrench, you'll notice that I don't have to push nearly as hard. It just breaks right open. I kind of like that. Okay? Here's this double box. Same principle, a little long handle. Got here on the end of it. More torque, so less force. That works for you. I'm going to, of course, again, as I said, use the 6-point socket on the back of the ratchet here. Somewhere. I can select it to the off position. I don't have to think about it too much. Get on there. This one's got a nice long handle, so it's easy to create quite a bit of torque. Okay. Or again, I could use the straight one. The straight one makes me happy. Put it to the off position, and away we go. Again, that's just me trying to decide which one I like. Now, you ask me, I'm going to use a ratchet pretty much every single time. Now, it may be for a fun time, I think to myself, by George, I think I'll use this ratchet wrench. This side here says off, so I'm going to put it to the outside, and I'm going to use it. Just go. And it's loose. Once it's loose, the problem with these is, once it's loose, if it's too loose, these guys don't ratchet well. They should do this. You should hear them clicking. But they won't click if it's too loose. That's kind of an annoying thing. Okay? But irregardless, whichever one I choose, as soon as I break it loose, I'm going to finish taking it out with my hand. Pretty much, that's 100% of the time. I'm going to grab a rag. Judas Priest, I about killed myself. All right. So I'll pull this drain pan up a little higher so we don't have this gusher flying all around the shop. We like to change our oil when it's a little warm so it flows out better. Understand when you got to the end, get your hand out of the way and hurry, or you're going to take a bath in oil. Okay? Ooh, hey, that's pretty, Mr. Groom. You know it is. It is kind of pretty. All right. Looks good. Now, meantime, I'm going to go look up, and I'll have a video for this in our program as to what torque to tighten this oil pan bolt down to. It would be a bad day, okay, if when you're doing this, you were to strip the threads out on your oil pan. It is not fun. Now this one isn't the world's worst one to get off. It's like 8, 10, 15 bolts, whatever it is, probably 10 I guess, I have to count them. And there's not a lot in the way you could pop it off. It's a pain. You have to buy a gasket for the customer, and you have to tell the customer, hey, oh, by the way, why is my car not done? Because some dim bulb stripped your pan bolt. Okay, so you have to get a new bolt and a new pan, and that's a problem. Or sometimes you can fix the threads in the pan, but it's kind of a pain in the buttocks. And so you'd just rather not do that if one can help it. Okay? That's my preference. I'd rather just not freaking break it. Thank you very much. I'm going to pause you. All right, so I came into Identifix, and it says oil drain plug torque. We just searched for that, 22 to 29 foot-pounds. So we're going to split the difference, call that about 25 foot-pounds. It's not really here to there. You can do 26. It's not going to hurt anything. It's in that range. Okay. So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to make a note of that. 26. I'm going to call it 26 foot-pounds. Now, I will show you this in ProDemand, and the reason I was double checking that, if you look at this black wrench right here, black wrench with the white wrench and the black deal says foot-pounds like this, Newton meters on the outside. So notice it gives it to you in Newton meters, and it gives it to you in foot-pounds. Okay. So again, where's halfway between these two? 25, 26, somewhere in that ballpark. So I'm going to go with 25 or 26, and we're going to take a look at that. All right, so this is the other one. I don't have a way to record on this video, on this particular computer. So it's a G, what did I say this thing was? No, it's an I-35. This is why having the VIN number is very helpful. You don't have to type all this crap in, but there it is. And what you can do is over here under specifications, you go here, you want mechanical specs, and then you just come down, you're looking for engine oil, and then here's the drain plug. Boom, right off the bat, same as the other one, but it's so much easier in this vehicle. Also, if you go back to vehicle, you're like, what am I doing? Well, I'm doing maintenance, yo. That's what I'm doing. And then under fluids, you will see engine oil. And then under engine oil, you'll see two things. You'll see capacities, and it'll tell you how much, 4 1/4, right there, U.S. quarts. And if you go back one tab, you will see fluid types, and you'll see it's 530. I'm back. Anyway. So now we are going to then now put our plug back in. So wiped it down good, cleaned it up. This one has a copper seal on it, looks fine. I'm going to go ahead and reuse it. If I noticed that it had been leaking at all, anything like that, I would replace it. Or if it was a rubber one, it was damaged, I'd replace it. Go ahead and screw it in, wipe off the little dribble there. And then let's go ahead and get our torque wrench. Okay, now our torque wrench, it's going to be easier said than done. I think I'm going to lay it down over here and pick you up. That's what I'm going to do. Now, we're doing a couple of different ways with this guy. Zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, whatever that direction is. Cool. So, if I turn it on, okay, if you look in the corner over here, it says pound-feet currently, and it's in 18. If you don't want it in Newton meters, you hit this U button here. I'm just going to hit up arrow. And I'm going to stop at about 20 just for fun. I'm going to sneak up on this guy. So I'm going to set it at 20. You're like, Mr. Groom, it's 26. I know. I'm not totally stupid. I know. I got you. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use not all, I'm going to use several of these torque wrenches and give you a feel for how they work. Okay? And so, again, I'm going to use this guy up to 20. And so it'll beep, and then we'll go to the next one. We'll go like to 21 or something, or 22. We'll just kind of sneak up on it. I put it on here. You listen for the beep. Right there. That's how you know it's there. Now this one actually tells you what we got to, which if I can focus on it, would be handy. This one's flashing 20.1 is what we actually got to, which is nice. It's pretty accurate. Okay. Here is this style, the click type style. I set it for about 22 just for fun. This one, you'll notice, is not a ratchet. Okay? Ouch. So this type, again, it's this older snap-on type, but it does not have a ratcheting head to it at all. Okay? No ratchet there. So it does not change directions for us. Okay? If I put it on and I listen for the click will tell us we're there. Get a little click? Okay, that tells me we made it. We're there. Again, when you're done with the click type, back it off to 0. And I'm going to go grab the other one from the classroom, the other click type. Okay. Here's this other click type. Now this type particularly doesn't click. You'll just see it move. If you focus on the end of it there, you'll see there's a little movement. And you can hear it. That's a click type. Now I'm going to go ahead and crank it down to 26, is what we said it should be. I'm going to do that using the digital one. Okay, and just to finish up going down there. Now normally I would just use one or the other of them. It's no big deal. I just want to get you confident about what they look like and feel like. There it is. I made it. Okay? There we are. Cool. Now what? Well, up under here, I'm going to take a video with my other camera. So I'll catch up. Okay, so up in here is where the filter lives. So here's our pan plug. It lives right up in here. Now, it's got this plastic doodad here. It should just drip straight down. Sometimes these are a bear to get at. In theory, the fella should be able to take them off with his bare hands. Okay, I might need both bare hands. You sit there, don't move. All right. Woo! Yes, I am still the man. There it is. I've cracked it loose. It is now turning by hand. Barely, but it's turning. Now, here comes the goop. Notice how it's dropping into this pan, which is kind of handy. If you're lucky, this kind of thing sits in a situation up in this little plastic rubber deal. I can push it back with my hand a little bit, and I'm able to get the filter out without making a gosh awful mess on everything. Okay? Sometimes that's doable. Depends on where the filters live. Okay? Notice I didn't get anything on that plastic. Got some on my hand, though. Oh, not your hand! Yes, on my hand. Okay? We're going to let it drip out. Okay? Then I'm going to go over here, and I've got the new filter. We're going to go ahead and install it. All filters should be put in hand tight. Okay? Unless you are a teensy tiny little person. If you're a teeny tiny little person who cannot muscle up for it, okay, then no, I think that you probably ought to use a little bit of a wrench. But for most of us, hand tight. Okay? Now what I'm going to do here, different schools of thought, as everybody lubes their what we call O-ring here. Just rubbing old oil on it, getting it loosened up. Now the reason for that is because when it goes up against the engine block in a minute, all right, it can actually start to stick, and as you're turning it, it will actually bunch up and cause a leak. Okay. Now different schools, I like to pop them out, lube the whole thing, and then put just a hair more just on the top. Oh, I mean, just like a little chapstick. Yeah, just like some chapstick or something. Again, that's so that when this rubber turns against the side of the block up there, it doesn't catch. Now, if you look down the side, you can see, maybe you can, the filter clearly is empty. You can see all the way to the bottom. That's nice. Sometimes it's nice if the filter lives like this. We like to fill some oil into them initially. That's cool. If they live like this, you can't very well. If they live like this, you can't at all. If you live like this, obviously you can't at all. But, again, only if they sit up vertically like this. It's not the end of the world either way. They will get full of oil fairly quickly, and life will go on. Once you've drained the oil out, it takes a few seconds after startup before the oil pressure comes up and fills the entire engine full of oil again, instead of just being here in the pan. Now, I am turning this down by hand. I like to turn it about as tight as I can get it with my hands. Again, if you are a teensy tiny person without a lot of hand strength, okay, then that's a situation where you might want to finish tightening it down with a wrench. It's possible. Sometimes they just get tight over time. So we have a variety of filter wrenches. They live in these carts. These wrenches clamp down on the filter. There's a variety of different sizes of them. Why is this brake tool in here? That's not good. And then there's also, my hands are filthy. I'm not touching everything. There's also these guys, which are in essence sockets that fit on the end of filters. Depending on where the filter lives, how you can get to it, and how tight they are, will depend on what wrench that you happen to choose to use. All right, so again, underneath the vehicle, got this baby torqued back down. In any little, disgusting mess or drip that you've made, go ahead and clean it up, wipe it up. There's a little bit of drop over here by the oil filter where it hung down. Clean it up good. I don't want to eat off of this car necessarily, but I wouldn't be bothered to eat off of it either, right? If it comes in, the whole underside of the vehicle is completely covered in goo because it's been leaking for years, then don't spend hours cleaning that up. So you clean up what you spilled and what you made a mess of, okay? Once you're done with that, hey, you're done. Let's move on, okay? So don't spend hours fooling with it. All right? Okay, let's get our stuff out from under the vehicle here. I'll come back to you in a jiffy. I'm back. All right, so here's the oil fill cap. Go ahead and leave it off to the side. Make sure you don't lose it. Make sure you don't drop it. Okay, I got the oil sitting right over here. Excuse me. As we mentioned, talking 5W30. Unless the customer wants it, or in the case of the car actually requests it, we will use conventional motor oil. Conventional, that is, good old-fashioned dinosaurs, not synthetic motor oil unless, again, they ask for it or the car actually needs it or desires it, of its own accord. Okay, go ahead and pour it in. Sometimes we'll use a funnel. In this case, it's pretty easy. I can hit it just fine. If it can't, then I'm going to go get a funnel. And when we're done with our oil, the stuff we drained out, a local auto shop around here comes and gets it from us. He has a furnace that burns it. He heats his shop in the wintertime. We recycle all of our oil bottles here. I need to go do that again one of these days, by the way. Getting kind of fulled up around here, this outfit. Oh, I forgot to turn the tunes off. You can hear a little tunage in the background. Oh, well. Mr. Croom, I like that song. I kind of do too, but I don't really know why. There's been some songs like that over the years that I always feel guilty or weird singing along with. Whatever, I don't care. Hey, man, you like what you like, man. Like it's okay, like I feel like. This is a V6 engine, 3 cylinders on the front side, 3 on the back. We'll talk more about those kind of layouts later on. Not this instant. Remember, so we're going to take 4 1/4. So 4, that's 3. 4. Ugh. Come on, Betsy, fill up. And then, because each card takes a different amount, I always keep on the shelf over here, you'll always end up with an oddball where you got like a half a quart laying around because that particular card ended up using 4.5 quarts or 5.5 or whatever it happens to be. So I happen to have one that's sitting over here that's pretty darn full. Alright, and so there's a couple ways to do this. If you look on the side, you can see this clear space here, and it has some measurements on it. That's not the best, but that's what we got to deal with. What I'm going to do, I think, on this one is I'm going to pour some of it into one of the other ones to where it comes up to the 8-ounce level. What I've done in the past, I think, is I've consolidated several containers that had oil into them, so I didn't have like 8 of them standing around with like part quarts in them. That's what I'm going to do, I think, here. I'll be right with you. I believe that's correct. Yeah. Maybe a skosh more. So if you look down here on the bottom, so there's 4, there's the middle one, and then that's 12 up there. You can't really see it too good. So that guy right there should be 8. I'm not holding the jug perfectly square. I'm going to put just a hair more in. Then I'll add that in. Then we'll start the vehicle. We'll let her run for about 30 seconds, and we'll check it. Check the oil level, see where we're at. All right, go ahead and dump that in. Ordinarily, I wouldn't do it that way, but I think what had happened was I had about 4 or 5 or 2 or 3 or whatever of these 530 cans on the shelf, and I consolidate them into one. So ordinarily, when you first get it, it's at the very top. It's at 32 ounces, and then you can just pour it down. Subtract 8 ounces. That puts you down, of course, to 24 ounces, and then you go from there. But again, that's not how I ended up this time. Be careful. This particular engine right here, there's a little bit of gook and pucky around the hole. Typically, I tell kids to take an air hose and clean that out, but I failed to do that just now. So I was careful not to get any in the engine. All right. Typically, that's something that should have been done. Shame on me. I'm going to go ahead and pull the dipstick just for fun right now. Wipe it off. Make sure I got plenty. I got some on it. I mean, clearly, once in a while, you run into a situation where you're like, did I overfill it or did I, whatever. Just be careful of that. But normally, I don't worry about it. Once I've seen, yep, this one takes 4.25 quarts. I'm just going to just go ahead, fill it to 4.25, start the vehicle, let her run. Well, that was cute, interesting. Okay. We'll go ahead and let this thing settle back down a little bit here. Wipe the stick off. Always wipe it off the first time you pull it out. Because what can end up happening is you'll have oil splashed on it. And as a result, you will not get a good reading like it is right now. So we'll let this baby cool back down, settle back in, and I will check back in with you in a few minutes on that. Oops, you're all out of focus too. That's weird. Well, that's hot. Wrong way, stupid. There you go. Alright, well, I'll be right back with you. Alright, kids. As you can see, maybe. Oh, for crying out loud. Anyway, there's the full mark right there. I'm kind of tipping it downhill, unfortunately. But you can see she's good and full. She's right to the line, so awesome. Put that back in. We'll make sure our filler cap's back on. We are good to go. Last thing to do, always, check under the vehicle. Mr. Groom, do you see any boo-boos down there? Did we spill anything? No, there's not gushes of oil coming out. All right, look under there for the pan. There's nothing wrong. Mr. Groom, we're good to go. Cool.
That's all, folks.